Good morning, everyone. Leslie Myrick here, interior designer and business coach with Nancy Quinn and the Profit Insiders Academy. It's Monday, so it's Monday Makeover, and I accidentally made the words go away, and now I can't find it. There we go, Monday Makeover. We're talking today with Robin about services pages, and I love the juicy website stuff, Robin. So welcome. Glad to have you back.
So nice to be here. Happy Monday. Hope you had a good weekend.
Happy Monday. I did. It is summer. It is 1,000 degrees here in Georgia, but it was still a good weekend.
Yes. As long as you got air conditioning, you're all set, right?
Bingo.
Yep.
Okay, so we are helping out Karen Steinberg today with Decor Revolution, her website and her services page, and giving her some amazing insight from Robin. Before we jump into actually screen sharing her site and talking in detail, you mentioned you wanted to start with just some general tips, best practices for website services pages. And I know every time we talk about a page, you're like, this is a really important page. They all are. So
They all
this
are.
is a really important page.
It's a really important page. Yeah, because this is where you're communicating your offerings.
Yeah.
Right. So this is how a potential client decides if you have a service that they're looking for, if you can help them with what they need help with. So it's really important. It's where you bring them from where they are today to where they want to be, right? They're reaching out to you because they want to get somewhere and they need help doing that. So it's really important. And, just a couple things to think about generally about a services page is sometimes one services page is adequate. Sometimes you might want more than one services page. And there is no right or wrong with this. This depends on lots of different things, the different kinds of services you're offering. If you're trying to optimize for keywords on any services pages, things like that. So you want to sort of think strategically about that. So just as an example, if you offer full service interior design, but then let's just say you also offer color consultations. Those are two very different services, very different price points, different kinds of clients. You might want to speak very differently to each of those kinds of people. And you might be optimizing for different keywords for both of those services. So then you might want to put them on two different pages, right? However, the flip side of it is if you just want to keep things really streamlined and simple, then it might be easier just to have one services page that lists a little bit of information about both of them. And like I said, there is no right or wrong, and it kind of depends on who your ideal client is, how they absorb information, what your business and brand is, things like that. So sometimes it can be a really good idea to have a drop-down menu with a couple of services. Sometimes you want them all on one page, right? Just something to think
about. So what you're saying is you might have services and we do full service, we do this, we do this, or you might have a menu and people can pick full service, this or this without that core, I guess, services landing page.
Exactly. Or you might just have one services landing page and that's it. And it doesn't go off onto anything else and nothing's broken down and it's just very simple and streamlined and you're giving minimal information and that's okay too.
And there's not a right answer is what you're saying. There's not
a right answer.
Practice. Yeah, no. That makes sense. I mean, it depends on, sorry, go ahead, Robin.
There's a best practice if you are optimizing for keywords, then you definitely want different pages, right? But sometimes we're not optimizing on services pages. And then it can be more user-friendly to have everything simplified on one page, right? Or maybe it can be more user-friendly to have things broken down because a homeowner might be looking for different information than a short-term rental owner, right? So again, it depends on your services, it depends on your brand, but I just like to point that out. And then when we're actually on the page, a couple of things that you want to make sure you have. At the top, a really captivating headline. And again, I'm not a copywriter, so I can't really give a good example of one, but something that is just going to pull people in and make them want to stay on the page and scroll down, right? You want to show that you understand. So meeting your clients where they're at, showing you understand what they're looking for and how you're uniquely equipped to help them with that. you want to give proof, social proof. So testimonials, right? Strong sales pitches in your client's words showing that you can do what you say you can do. It's a good idea to share your process, right, on your services page. This shows that you are an expert, you're an authority, that you are going to guide everything. You are going to take control, right? You don't want your client leading the project. Then you want to get into information about your services. But when we're sharing about our services, we don't want to list out, here's what's included, because most clients don't know what all of that stuff is. Like,
I'm
they
so
don't
glad
know what
you said that.
is.
Because we don't like the whole features and benefit thing. Like, we don't want to necessarily say all the features, like all the tech specs. Or Apple's a great example. Like, you've probably heard the analogy of like when they came out with the iPod, it was like, X gigabytes of storage and this and this and this. But the benefit was like 1,000 songs in your pocket. Like, that's what clients need to know. Like, what do they need to know about what you do? Not just here's exactly what we deliver and what the process looks like, right?
Exactly. They don't need all the nitty gritty of what's included in it, because most of that, they don't even understand what it is. Like, I'm sure when iPads came out, we didn't even know what gigabytes were, how many we needed, and was this a good number or a bad number or what? So you want to show how your services focus on the benefits, not the features, right?
Clients don't know what they need. They know what they want out of hiring you.
Exactly. And what transformation they can expect, what they're going to have at the end. Appeal on an emotional level. Don't list out everything that's included, right? And then an FAQ section can be an excellent thing to have. And what I always like to say is, think of your FAQ section from two different perspectives. One, from a potential client's perspective, where you might want to ask some specific questions and give specific answers about your interior design business specifically. But then also from an SEO perspective, think about kinds of general questions that people might type into Google if they were looking for your service. Because from your FAQ section, if you have this coded properly on the back end of your website, and this is called schema markup, you can get into AI overviews and the people also ask section in SERPs. So this can be something where you might want to be both general and specific.
I think that's really smart. And I know you went all technical there for a second. When you Google something, there's like the little questions like other people have asked. That's where you want to be, or in that little AI summary that shows up at the top now. And by doing these FAQs, when you get really specific, clients that want to know what you can do are going to get those answers. The more generic FAQs are to try to get you in front of more eyeballs through Google search, correct?
Exactly.
Okay,
perfect.
Awesome.
And then the last thing you want to have is a call to action. What is it you want people to do now that they've been on this page and learned all this information about your services? What's the next step? Probably to contact you.
So obvious, but people don't do this.
Yes, we need to gently guide them.
You get the footer and you're like, okay, like, where do I go? What turn do I make now? Like, I don't have any more directions to keep driving here.
Exactly. Let's guide the call, whatever it is, fill out your form, whatever it is you want them to do.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So that's basically it in a quick little nutshell, the sort of things that you want to have on your services page. And again, you can put them in whatever order you want, but we just want to kind of flow through very nicely.
Love it. Okay. Do we want to look at Karen's website now and get real specific here?
Yeah, let's take a look. Okay. So one little thing that I always like to talk about, even though it's the same on every page, is the header at the very top. And I love that she's got her logo on the left and her menu on the right, but she does have a lot in her menu. And one thing I would recommend, just to make that a little more streamlined, is to think about taking home. Leslie knows what I'm going to say.
I knew where you were going.
Out of the menu. Yeah, because we can click on the logo and get back home, and it will just make it all look a little bit cleaner. Yeah, because everything else that she has in the menu is important, and we do want it to be at the top of the website. So I would just recommend doing that. And then Leslie, if you don't mind hovering over Karen's services, in the menu. Karen actually, I just want to show you guys, has two different options. One is for her residential and ADU design services, and then the other is for vacation rental. And to me, this makes sense because one is a homeowner for their own home, and one is a homeowner who's renting their home. So they're looking for very different kinds of design, right? So I do think that it actually makes sense that she's broken them down. And we're looking at her residential design page today.
Yes.
And I love that she's got an image at the top, and she lets you know what page we're on. My only comment here is it is a little difficult to read the words.
Yeah.
Like we can see them, but it's just a little difficult. So maybe changing the color or putting a little bit of a color overlay over the background image might help make the words pop a little bit. And while I actually really like this photo, when I'm seeing a huge hero photo at the top of a page, I would love for it to be an image of Karen's work instead, so that I can see her beautiful, the beautiful interiors.
The transformation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I love this photo. So maybe there's a way to use, or I think it might actually be two photos next to each other. Maybe we can incorporate those in on the actual page itself further down, but I would love to see her work featured in the large photo at the top.
Yeah. All right.
And then if we want to take a look down, we have got Karen goes through discovery call, and then she lists out her different services. Leslie, if you just want to scroll through so everyone can see, she's got full service, and she gives information on each of the services. Sometimes there's a testimonial there, sometimes there isn't. And when I look at this sort of big services section, a couple of things that I would love to see is it's a lot of text.
Yeah.
It's a lot of text. And everybody is in a rush nowadays. And we don't spend as much time reading, right? So what I would love to see here is maybe a way to incorporate images and text. So she did this, I think, with her virtual design. She has two images, but maybe if there was a way to have, let's just say, for example, a 2-column setup where on the left is a larger photo that might be representative of the service that she's talking about, right? We know an image, a picture tells it, tells 1,000 words, right? So if we have an image there, and then we have the name of the service, and then a brief description, that might help people who are skimming, right? And going through really quickly. Something else to think about when you have a lot of text, I think that there might be a little too much space between the lines of the body text. I might like to see that decreased a little bit. And if you want to give a lot of information, a really good way to do that is maybe have a sentence or two and then like a drop down, an accordion or a toggle button. So somebody who wants more information can get it, but it's not taking up a huge amount of space on the page for people who just want to go through really quickly, right? And these are just ways of, design wise, trying to get everything on there for all the different buying personalities, right? So I think if we
making it more scannable, I think that would help. Even like potentially here, this could be just a line break and have a bigger space here. That would just breaking things up a little bit. And I love your idea too about tightening the line spacing. It feels to me like this is all like subheader rather than like body copy. Like it has that sort of big importance. And it
Yes.
actually, I find it difficult to read because it's so big and so spaced. And I think you're right. If it was condensed a little bit, maybe broken up, maybe there is a drop down. So like the first sentence is there, but then there's like a read more. That would really help.
Exactly. I mean, almost like virtual design on one line, and then this is for those who would like. So I like that she's saying who it's for.
Yeah.
So you can self-identify, and then maybe everything else, maybe then there's a learn more, or, you know, get the details, right? Or explore the service with a drop down with everything else she wants to say.
I like that.
And an image next to it. Again, so we've got an image that is speaking to what that service is. And then I love that she's got testimonials on the page. So if she wants to do a testimonial in between each service, I think that's fantastic.
I do too. I think
I
it's
like that a lot.
you know, what's interesting is I stopped at the testimonials because they also feel different from everything else.
Yes. Yes. The testimonial text is almost what the body text should be.
I could see that.
It's easier to read, isn't it?
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So just a couple of suggestions for, you know, thinking about maybe laying that out a little bit differently. But I like saying, you know, this is for you if type of thing, because then people can self-identify. And the other thing that I noticed is at the very top, she starts out with the discovery call. And I realize that's where every project starts. But having it at the very top before anyone has been able to read anything else about the services is almost like asking someone to come home with you before having dinner on a first date. Right? So potentially the order of things, Karen might want to think about moving around. And I always like to say, think about a couple of things. Which of your services brings you the most joy? Which do you like doing the most? Which one is your biggest money maker? Hopefully they're the same one. That's what we want on the top, right? Because that's the one you want people to see first. That's what you want more of. And then put the other options below it. And then maybe discovery call is at the end of the services, because that's the first step.
I love that, because then it's really people are educated about your services. Okay. Oh, every project begins with a discovery call. No matter what they want to do, they know what the next step is. And I think that's really beautiful, the way that this would guide people, not just inquire, but now that you see my services, every project begins with this phone call. Here's the link.
Exactly. Yep. So I think that could be really, really helpful. I think also a little bit more what I like to call white space in between the different services. I mean, I love that she's got that faint little line there, which is sort of a divider, but a little bit more like white space above the line and below the line, just for some breathing room. It gives your eye a chance to rest for a moment in between reading everything. I think could really help. And again, changing the fonts a little bit. So I might think about making virtual design, full service design. I like that they're all caps, maybe a different color, maybe a little bit bigger, so it stands out a bit more from the subheading. You know, this is for those, and then the body text, which would be in the toggle or the accordion drop down.
Nice. Yeah.
But otherwise, you know, a really fantastic start here.
I agree. Yeah. And she does have a call to action at the bottom already, which is great. But I agree with you that really getting specific with, we're going to do a discovery call. Is what would be there.
One comment that I do have about the call to action, I love that she has it. I love that there's a hover effect on the button. But can you see when Leslie hovers on the button and it's that pretty color, how much more that call to action stands out?
Yeah.
Right. So think about maybe that's the button and the hover effect is when it turns white and looks like that.
I
So
like
we
that.
don't want to hide what we want people to do. And then another way to get that to stand out a bit is to maybe put words above it.
Like right here.
Yeah, or maybe have an image with it, something so it's almost like its own, a section unto itself, a call to action section that is really eye-catching because we want people to see it and click it, right?
I like that idea because it's very subtle when it is white and it's really pretty to like, oh, look. But I agree, if this button, if you had that contrast there of it being that pretty teal color,
Yeah,
I think
it's more noticeable. And the whole goal of the website is to get people to contact her, right?
Yeah.
So that she can get on a call with them, the discovery call, and move into the initial consultation, right? And sign them as a client. So we want to be obvious about what we want them to do.
This is not the time for subtlety and cuteness. It's call me. Let's start a project. Let's go.
Exactly.
I'm ready.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. If we take a quick look at her footer, I love that she has a menu here. Makes it really easy for people once they get to the bottom of the page to navigate somewhere else. I'd love to see a little bit more space in between each page name, just so it doesn't look like a big sentence. Great that she's got an email sign up. Her logo is there. Her location is there. I love that her social icons are in the footer. That's all really fantastic. I'm not seeing legal pages. And I did take a quick look at her contact page, and I do not think she has a form, but she is collecting personal information because she's collecting an email address with her news and updates. So she absolutely needs a privacy policy, and she's in California.
Yeah.
She probably needs a cookie policy as well, because most lawsuits about privacy are coming from California.
Yeah,
So,
like it's a tricky state. So I agree. I think that's just smart. I think we often feel like, well, that's only for like big companies and big websites, but it's for all of us. Anyone that has a website and collects data.
Yeah, it's for all of us. And it's becoming more and more important. And because Karen does vacation rentals, and you never know who owns the vacation property. They might not be a California resident. They could be from another state. They could be from another country. So when they're visiting her website, she has to comply with the privacy laws of that state or country, not just where she's located.
Fascinating. Yep. With this specifically doing vacation rentals, you're kind of casting your net a little bit wider, aren't you, with who you're attracting?
Yep. Yep. So just wanted to point that out. And yeah, it's an important thing, and it's becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, but really fantastic start, Karen, and thank you for volunteering and letting us take a look at your services page today.
Yes, I always appreciate when designers are willing to have their website looked at, and I think it's incredibly helpful because we get so close to our websites, even whether we design them ourselves or we outsource it to an expert. I think we know them inside and out so well that it's hard to get in that headspace of someone who's seeing it for the first time from the outside. So thank you, Karen. And thank you, Robin, for your great tips.
Yes, you're welcome.
I think I love everything you said. Make it look prettier, more breathing room, just easily scannable. Make sure people know what to do next. And I think that it'll increase conversions.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. And if anybody would like to volunteer a page of their website for us to go through on one of our Monday makeovers, please let us know, because we would love to add you onto the list.
Yes.
Yeah, and hopefully these are helpful.
Awesome. I know, Robin, you are taking August off for summer vacation. So we will see you back here in September. So if you would like a page of your website services or otherwise, we do the whole thing on these monthly lives. Leave a comment. Our team will take a look at it, and we'd love to get Robin's expert eyes to help you succeed as a designer and have a killer website that really gets clients in the door. So thank you, Robin. Appreciate you and your expertise, and we will see you in a couple months.
All right. Take